Hi everybody, good morning. It's Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. This is Jean's Block Party 2021. I'm working on my Dear Jean quilt. And this is block number 4. We have done block numbers 1, 2, and 3. If you haven't seen them, they are on my playlist on YouTube. You can see the entire collection of my thought process for making this block. It is not quite the same if you're looking at my playlist for 2018 and 2019 block parties, because they were just simple sampler quilts with 12-inch and 9-inch blocks set in a traditional setting. This one I'm sort of stepping out your comfort zone and I'm making more of a medallion quilt with blocks around it, blah blah blah. That's sort of what I have in mind at the end. It might change along the way, but I'll keep you informed. We are making 6-inch blocks, and our block number 4 is a sweet little 6-inch block, 2 grid. All right, we got that. We got the 2 grid, but we have 4 patches, 1, 2, 3, 4. But what do we have? We have a small 4 patch within our 4 patch here. Okay. Now we're just again working with smaller units in this here, but I show you exactly how to stitch them and how to put them into our little 4 patch block here, our 2 grid. I've used 3 different fabrics for this block. I've wanted to lighten it up, so I did the little gray and white dot for me. It's livened it up. The intersection we had to match was here and here, just like we did on our 4 patch. Just very simple, little 2 4 patches in a 4 patch. So that, folks, is block number 4. Again, from now on, I'm using my K Facet fabrics. They're very bright, very bold, saturated colors. But I think they're so pretty. People are sending in, again, I mentioned it last week with block number 3, people are sending into my Facebook, oh, the pretty different fabrics that people are using. And I hope you're enjoying this. I really do. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm tailoring this for beginners, and I'm hoping that beginners can do what I'm showing you. Again, I'm taking, it's half-hour tutorials for something that could only take maybe an expert quilter literally a few minutes to make. But as a beginner, I do really hope I'm showing you how to do step by step. And do it well, do it right. I keep reiterating how important the ironing is, the pressing, and the cutting to be perfectly precise. I think I mentioned it in the last video that I do wing it a lot. I'm not a perfectionist at all. But if you're going to be doing something, you might as well do it right. And the measurements and everything need to be correct. So I show you that exact how to do this little 4 patch in this little block number 4. I hope you enjoy it. It's 6.5 inches. I had my ta-da moment. Oh, I didn't actually. This one was slightly small, just a hair small. Oh well, it was more of a wah-wah moment than a ta-da moment. But I'm not bothered. It's okay. I don't know what happened. I think when I went to cut these, they weren't cut. Do as I say, not as I do. But it's perfect. It's lovely. It's super. Nothing that won't get hidden in a seam at the end of the day. It's that much off. So again, don't stress the small stuff where this is just fabric. We're just working with fabric and making a pretty quilt at the end of the day, whatever you're making. I'm making my medallion quilt, hopefully. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. So again, folks, thanks a lot for following us, and we'll love from the Trueloves. See ya. Bye. I've come straight to the cutting instructions for our block number 4 that you have seen. I'm using 3 fabrics in this block. And as I was saying in the beginning, this is just our 4 patches within our 2 grid. But we've shrunk down the pieces a little bit, but it's the same as you've been doing in blocks 1, 2, and 3, really. We're just using our squares. We're not working with any triangles or anything right now. So we're block number 4. You are going to be cutting what I'm calling my fabric A, one of the larger pieces in our block. We're cutting 2 3.5-inch squares, just like we did on our other 2 grid. For our fabric B, which I'm deeming my neutral, we're cutting 4 2-inch squares. And then again, for our fabric C, for my contrast, I'm cutting 4 2-inch squares, exactly like that. So we have 2, 4, and 4. So in this 2 grid, we have 10 pieces of fabric in our 6.5-inch, 6-inch finished block. So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put this together. I'm at my machine, and the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to see if my fabric I've checked my fabric, I've checked my stitches on my machine over here, and I see that my stitch quality is super. Yep, there we go. You want to do that and set yourself up to start our block. Now, we are going to be making a simple 4 patch. We've done this before. That was our very first block. We're obviously just working with smaller units. Now, I want to configure my block how I want it to end up looking. As you can see, I have these 2 large pieces. These are the directional. As I see it, my leafy bits are going up. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place this in general where I want my fabrics to go, my 4 patches to go. I'm doing it like this. I want my 4 patch dark to go right up at an angle there. So my darks are going this way, and so therefore my lights are going to fill in there. So that's how my block is going to end up. I like doing it so I can see exactly what I'm going to be sewing. So I'm not touching these yet. I'm going to be constructing my 4 patch exactly like this. Now, somebody said that the 4 patches are constructed the exact same way, if you turn it around, obviously, but I just like to do it, so you could just do the 4 patches the exact same way, but I just like to do it visually in front of me, and I'm okay with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section here, I'm going to take this 4 patch over to my machine, just like that, and then I'm going to chain piece. Remember how we did that? What we're going to do is I'm going to take this 2-inch piece and I'm going to put it the pretty side over to my fabric. Oh, it doesn't even look like it's 2 inches. Oh, wait a second. Did I cut that wrong? No, that one's 2 inches. Oh, no, that one looks a little bit big. Well, we'll see how it turns out. I thought I cut them the right size. It might just be slightly off. Huh, how about that? Well, let me just try. Do as I say, don't do as I do. Now, look at that. Why is that? Let me see. Anyway, I'm just going to fudge it a little bit. I'm going to do this 1/4 inch. My 1/4 inch is there. That's funny. I'm going to put this right side, the pretty side, over to here. Yeah, these gray bits are just slightly smaller. We'll see how it turns out. Like that. And then I'm just going to grab these over here. I'm just going to grab my gray onto my blue. Chain piecing them. Yeah, that blue's a little bit bigger. About 1/8 inch. I don't know how that happened. We'll see if it turns out. We'll see if this turns out. It may be a bit smaller, a bit too large. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I should edit that out. I thought I cut them really good. Well, now we'll see. So I'm going to pinch. Where's my scissors? Oh, where are my little scissors? Here we go. I'm going to pinch and pull, and then I'm going to separate them. Now I know that these are going there. Oops. Separate that. And trim. So now, again, I'm going to just finger press this little unit there. I'm going to finger press this one open. And I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to finger press to the dark. Like that. I'm going to work with this one. And remember, this is the intersection we want. One is going one way, one is going the other way. So I'm going to just put them together and nest that. Now, because they may be a bit cut wrong, well, no, they look like they're okay now. Well, I'll see how it turns out. I'm going to just push them together like that. Hold my thing. Just again, we're working with smaller units. perfect 1/4 inch though. Even our small units, we're working with a perfect 1/4 inch. Your tendency may be to want to make it smaller because we're working with smaller units, but don't do that. You want to pinch so your threads don't come out, and trim. So there is my little 4 patch. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I am going to go over to my ironing board and I'm going to iron these before I construct the whole unit, the whole block, because there's a lot of seams here. So I'll put that down. Just go slowly. Pinch, cut, and trim. And there. Oh, that's about a thread off. Yeah, it's not great, but it's okay. It's awesome. So I'm just going to go over to my ironing board and I'm going to iron these. So the first thing I want to do with my little units here is I want to set this seam, remember? Now I finger press these seams, but I do want to set that center seam. Very important. Okay? I'm going to set that seam right there. And then very gently, just pulling that out just slightly, I'm going to set those seams there. One goes one way, one goes the other way. And then I'm going to open them up. And I'm going to see where my fabric wants, my fabric, as you can see, just wants to go that way. So I'm just going to gently, very gently, nudge with my iron, keeping everything nice and straight up like that. Now, because there's quite a few seams, there's a few seams in here, your block may not, yeah, it lays pretty okay. But what I like to do is I also like to give it a little spritz of some water. Just give that a little spritz. And I just find for me, either a bit of water, or if you have a little shot of steam, or even a little bit of spray starch, there. My block's laying really, really nice. So again, my seam has been set. I just roll that up, just nudge it up. You don't want any little nasty folds or tucks in your seam. So that's why I press on the outside, so I can see if my block is staying nice and straight and there's no little tucks or folds. So these both intersections are about a hair off. That's because this wasn't cut as perfectly. Well, how about that? Okay, now we're going to go back over to our machine and we're going to construct our 4 patch. I've laid my block out in front of me. I always want to keep my orientation because you could get confused if you don't see it. Again, I'm doing this visually. So now what did we do with our initial 2 grid 4 patch? What we've done is I'm going to take this unit here, the top, left, and my directional fabric, so this block will be directional. I'm going to put the pretty side over to the pretty side, and this should measure, this piece here should measure 3.5 inches, and there you go. Maybe a smidge out, but that's pretty good. I'm going to put the right sides together, needle down, and I'm going to do my 1/4 inch. And again, you don't have to back stitch, because our seams will be intersection. I'm going to do the same exact thing here. I'm going to put the pretty side over to this one, pick that up, and I will sew it on this side. Now it is just a smidgen off of my 3.5 inches. I didn't cut that perfectly. How about that? So then this one will probably be, when we go to square this up, I'll have a few shreds coming off. But there we go. There. Raise my presser foot, pinch, trim, cut my things. Okay, so here are my 2 units now. So now this unit is wanting to go to the dark. You see that? And so when I finger press, I'm not pushing it because I don't want to stretch it out. I'm just pressing that seam. Again, the beauty of 100% cotton. How lovely it goes. You see that? Could go that way, but I want it to go to the dark, and then it goes to the dark. So I'm just finger pressing that very carefully, very carefully. Now, there's my little block. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one over to here. By all means, if you want to use a pin, you can, but this is the most important one here. We're going to be nesting this seam here, where my fingers are. Simple 4 patch. but with a little bit extra fabric, a little bit extra pieces. 1/4 inch, nesting my seam. One seam's going one way, one seam's going the other way. And right off. Pinch. I pinch it so, because we don't back stitch, you don't want to just sort of pull your fabric off of your needle, off of the end of your stitching there, because this stitches could come out, even if it's just a few, but it's a bit of a pain. So if you pinch it and then trim, your seam will stay a little bit better. So there is my lovely, whatever this is, whatever this is. And it's, again, this is just one thread off, but I'm absolutely okay with that. Now I'm going to go over to my ironing board again. So as I've come off my sewing machine, I'm going to set that seam real well. Again, I just can't reiterate how important it is to iron our blocks. And again, my blocks want to go that way. I'm going to give it a little bit of a spritz of water there. And then very carefully, without skewing anything, I'm going to very, very carefully and slowly take my time. Make sure the blocks, the seams are going the way that we've pressed them. Roll everything up. Again, if you want to give it a nice shot of starch at this point, if you're using starch or a sizing. Now those are just slightly off. I'm absolutely fine with it. That's a pretty little block. Now, am I going to have a ta-da moment? So let's come over here. Let's see. Okay, so here's my block. I don't think I am. This block is too small. It is about, it's about a little shred too small. Just slightly. Isn't that funny? Just slightly, the whole place, it's just maybe a 32nd of an inch too small. But I'm not going to do it over. Yeah, no way. Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah. So when I go to put that in my quilt, it'll still finish at 6 inches because I'll just make that seam a little bit smaller. But for some reason, I did not cut these perfectly square. So you must be careful to cut your your blocks perfectly square. So, but I'm okay with that. It's sort of like a want moment, not a ta-da moment. As you can see, it's just slightly too small, but I'm okay with that. So make sure you cut your squares absolutely perfect in order to get your ta-da moment. This one looks smaller and that one looks smaller because that one's not in the seam. You can see that, all right? So, but there is my block number 4 in my lovely fabrics. And oh, I think it's so pretty. You see how this lighter neutral, or whatever your neutral, will lift your quilt. Even if it's a dark, it will lift your quilt and add some relief to what I have is a very, very busy pattern. So, block number 4 in my K-Facet fabrics. I'm so pleased. It's sort of a double 4 patch, but in our 2 grid. So I hope you enjoy this, folks. All right, see ya. Bye.